You're listening to the My Simplified Life podcast, and this is episode number 142. Welcome to the My Simplified Life podcast, a place where you will learn that your past and even your present don't define your future. Regardless of what stage of life you're in, I want you to feel inspired and encouraged to pursue your dreams, simplify your life, and start taking action today. I'm your host, Michelle Glogovac, and I'm excited to share my stories and life lessons with you while taking you on my own journey. This is My Simplified Life. Hello, my friends. Welcome to another episode. I'm your host, Michelle Glogovac. Maybe you've noticed lately that I have a new calm in my voice, and it's because I recently came back from a trip to Necker Island. And a lot of people have asked, where is Necker Island? It's in the British Virgin Islands, and it is a private island owned by Sir Richard Branson. I was invited on a leadership gathering by the founder of Business Chicks, Emma Isaacs, who I have had on the show, and she shared about her experience on Necker Island. And I said, it's going to be on my bucket list. Well, I had no idea that in a matter of months, I would get an email from her inviting me to come on this trip. It was life-changing, and I don't say that lightly. I came back with something that was inside of me that was a calmness, there was a grace. I honestly felt like I was floating as I was walking, and it became indescribable. It's made sure that I have created new practices in my daily habits. I'm now more present. I'm more focused on ensuring that I have time to myself every single day. And a part of this process was also getting to spend time meeting new women from around the world, but also sharing my space with Crista Grasso from the Lean Out Method, who's been on the show before. She's been a very dear friend of mine for years now, but it was the first time we got to meet in person. And we met in person in the airport in San Juan, Puerto Rico. And it just made the whole experience more magical. So Crista and I got together literally 2 days after this trip when we came home, and we recorded this week's episode and next week's episode all about the experience that we had on Necker Island together. You're going to hear about the different speakers, the different sessions that we had, the fun parts. It really encompasses everything that was on the trip, but also what our takeaways were from every speaker, from the entire week of being on this majestical, beautiful island, and how we hope to move forward in our lives after having had this experience. So here is part one of 2 parts of our experience on Necker Island.
Today may be the episode that I am the most excited about sharing with you because I have Michelle Glogovac with me today. And we are going to be talking all about our experience on Necker Island, which we just got back from. So we're going to be sharing our biggest takeaways. We're going to give you a little behind the scenes. But also one of the things that I want to talk about, which I think is really relevant, is how often do we have these amazing experiences? We go on vacation, we attend a conference, we participate in a retreat, we do something and we feel amazing and inspired in the moment. And then we get back to our computer and we forget everything that we learned and we don't implement anything. So we're also going to be talking about how you can take these amazing moments and experiences that we get to have throughout our entrepreneurial journey and actually leverage them to make real change for yourself personally, for your business, or even from an impact in community perspective. So that's what we're going to be diving into today. And if you've been a longtime listener, you've probably met Michelle already. She was on episode 9 of the podcast. But in case you don't, I'm going to have Michelle give you a little intro, tell you a little bit about what she does, and then we are going to dive in. So Michelle, over to you.
Crista, good morning. It's so fun to see you, although I'm not rolling over, not next to you, but in the other bed next to you. I am so excited to be here and to get to chat with you and share this magical lifetime experience with you. So I am Michelle Glogovac. I am the podcast matchmaker and the founder of the MLG Collective, where I match my clients to podcasts to help share their stories, their messages to create an impact. And I coach them through their storytelling and podcast interviews. So I change the world one voice at a time.
That she does. She is exceptional at what she does. And she was also my roomie for the past week, which was pretty exciting. So we've known each other for a really long time, I think for a couple of years now. But this was the first time we got the opportunity to meet in person, and we got to spend an entire week together. So it was great.
It was. We shared a room. It was cozy.
It was. And that room had the most incredible balcony ever. Can I just say, I would love to wake up every single day and just step out onto that little balcony overlooking the ocean with my nice shot of espresso in my journal. It was just such a great and peaceful way to start the day and to just feel really grounded to go about the day while avoiding the lizards that kept trying to jump up on everything.
I was going to say there was a lot of effort and footwork in that sitting peaceful Zen-like moments of don't get me iguana. Oh, there's another one.
True statement. But off in the distance, we would see these beautiful, like bright coral flamingos flying over the Caribbean blue sea. It was like amazing to see the contrast in the colors. So there was no shortage of beautiful things to look at while you were trying not to step on the iguanas and the lizards. All right. So Michelle, let's dive right in and let's chat about some of the experience itself and some of the takeaways. What was the experience like for you?
It was unexpected. I think that's the best way to put it, because we went in not really knowing what we were going to come away with. And we were told, it's going to be different for everybody. It'll affect you differently. And it could be tomorrow. It could be the next day. It could be in a year that you feel whatever it is, whatever change there is in you. For me, it was day one. I cried, friends. I cried every single day, every single morning. And it was like this opening, I can't even describe it, but I felt right in the middle of my chest, this openness. And it continued when I came home as well. This was more about getting internal than it was about business. We weren't sitting there talking about business and how do you lead and how do you do this. It was what kind of work do we need to do on ourselves that will then continue on into the world, that will affect our business, that will affect our family, that will affect our lives overall. And that was surprising to me because I don't know that I really anticipated any of that happening. Did you feel that way?
I did. And so I do a lot of retreats. I do a lot of events. I do masterminds. I participate in so many different things. And being that it's a leadership gathering, and I know that we have sessions and we have speakers and we have all of this stuff, I kind of thought that it was going to be a whole lot of business. Now, I knew there would be some of the personal aspects of it as well, but I just went into it very business minded because that tends to be how my brain works anyway. I'm always thinking business strategy and what am I going to do next? And what is this? And I found that it really was more a container for self-reflection and self-development. And it was really quite an interesting experience and a really amazing experience. But I feel like I took away as much personally, maybe even more so than I did for business directly. Whereas I feel like there was so much indirect that's going to impact and shape both myself and the business.
Absolutely. And I think that, for me, the beach has always been a calmness. It's my happy place. It's where we want to vacation. And so I've always gotten that sense, but this was totally different in that we slowed down. And I know that there was one morning where I just sat before the sessions and I looked at the greenery and I was amazed at all of the different shades of just green, not even the blue of the ocean, which was a blue I've never even seen before when we were out in the middle of the Atlantic, but to notice this beauty, to take it in and to be in awe constantly from the moment we wake up to the moment we go to sleep and we're looking at all of the stars and are just mesmerized by all of it. It was a calm, a reflection, a gratitude. it's indescribable almost. I keep trying to come up with words to describe everything. And I've said it's life changing. And my husband laughs. He's like, how is this life changing for you? You sat on a beach for a week. Um, but it was, he doesn't understand that there was so much inner work that went through me. And I've already had another friend go, you seem so much calmer. Just in the couple days that I've been back, the text messages I send, there's just a calmness. And I think that there was more about being present, that we were there for the sessions. We were there for, the beauty of the outside, and to take that with us and come home. That's what I've been needing. And I think what I've been missing the most.
Yeah, I agree fully. And I talked to a few different people yesterday and today, and everybody has hands down said the same exact thing. Wow, you're glowing. Everyone says that when they talk to me. And it is, I feel like it's not just probably because my skin got a little bit too much sun, so I have too much face stuff on it right now. But I mean, like, it's just that like almost energetic glow where I feel completely refreshed in a way that I frequently don't. I always come back from things feeling very inspired. My mind is going and I've got all these ideas, but I don't usually come back feeling this grounded and just this, calm. It's a different type of experience in a lot of ways. And it's interesting you shared about the beach. I think one of the most surreal moments for me was we had decided to go snorkeling, which was pretty fun. And we went over to this beach and we were quite literally the only people on the beach. And if you just think, I mean, the beach to me is always a very calming place. I love the beach. But how often is it that you're alone on a beach? Or if you're looking around, you know that somebody's going to come at any moment, or there's buildings and there's traffic and there's noise and there's all this stuff around you. We were quite literally the only people on an entire beach as far as the eye could see in every direction. And the only thing that you saw when you looked around was pure beauty, whether it was the water, whether it was the palm trees, whether it was the foliage, whether it was the flowers, whether it was these amazing little like structures that they have all over the place, like beds that you could lay down on and these great little like gazebos and things all over. And I just remember looking around and saying, I don't know that I will ever in my entire life have this experience again. And it's absolutely amazing.
Yeah. And I remember the moments that there were fish that I was like, hey, let's bond. And there was one fish who was like, I'm just going to hang with you. Like, we did nothing together. We just looked at each other back and forth. And letting the ocean just kind of take you. And there's no fear. There's no worry. I'm just going to float along and I'll come on back when I'm ready. And then I'm going to go look at shells that nobody has touched, that are the most unique things I've ever seen in my entire life. And I've been to plenty of beaches. It was just amazing. There was no time constraints. It was a freedom. It was just, you were there. And I think that's the most important thing, is we're constantly in the hustle and bustle of every day. And, I've got this meeting now, and then I got to go pick up my kids, and then we got to have dinner, and we've got this activity. Whereas here it was like, yeah, we've got dinner in a few hours. It's no big deal. And if you're late, don't worry about it. You can get there when you get there, and the food will be there. It was just whatever you have to do to be in this moment was up to you.
Yep. And to me, I feel like that's some of what I really want to bring back, right? We're going to get into some of our takeaways and some of the amazing things that we learned and that were shared there as well. But I do think that a lot of it is, how do we bring that sense back to us? Now, obviously, we have meetings, we have deadlines, we have things that need to get done. We can't always just be sitting around like, as much as that's nice, right?
Really? Because I was hoping we could.
I know. I probably could if I had that view that I woke up to every morning. But that being said, it's like, how do we take that back? And I know for me personally, I've shared this before, is I struggle with things like meditation. I struggle with things like sitting in silence. I am a go, go, go kind of person. My nickname is Energizer Bunny because I am constantly going. My brain is constantly going, even if my body is sitting still. It's just kind of who I am. And I felt like I actually was able to relax. I actually was able to come down. And I want to start building more of those practices into my day. It's like I do breathing today. today. I do journaling today. There's a lot that I do, but it still never really turned my brain off in the same way that it did throughout our week together. And so I'm excited to start to incorporate more of that into my practice because I felt different. I felt completely different. It wasn't just that it's good for you and yeah, you should do it. It's like I could actually feel it in my body and in my calmness and in the way that I process things. And so to me, that's one of my takeaways. How about you?
I completely agree because I'm the same way. Like if I'm watching TV, I'm knitting something or, I'm constantly doing something. I can't sit still. And so that was a big one for me as well. I do journal, but I can't meditate. I'm like, oh, maybe when the kids go to bed, I'll like close my eyes and do a app thing. I don't know. The breath work thing. I'm like, okay, it hasn't been my thing. But I also think that in having this time that was set aside for all of this, it made it our thing. Like we didn't really have a choice. This was part of your day and this was how you start it. And I loved that, coming home yesterday to all of the stuff. And I had said, oh, I'm going to start checking my email only 2 or 3 times a day. I want to start doing that because I didn't open my laptop for a week. I perused my emails occasionally. It was like first thing in the morning, lunchtime, and then it got put away. Sometimes it didn't even come with me. And my husband said actually yesterday, he goes, you got give yourself grace because you just came back from a week of being away. So of course you're going to have to catch up on things because I said, I feel bad I couldn't put into practice what I wanted to. So this morning I was very purposeful about drop the kids off. And then before I do anything, I'm going to go have some Sarah Blondin time. And I know we're going to talk about Sarah, but I got to have that moment back to start my day. And I can already feel that right now I feel like I did when we were in Necker. Unlike yesterday, even though yesterday I didn't feel like, oh, so rushed, but I still had things to do. And today I'm like, it'll all get done. It's okay. I even feel like I talk like her now.
So speaking of our friend Sarah, so part of the magic of this retreat and the thing that I loved so much about it is if you've ever been to conferences, if you've ever been to other events or retreats, what happens? There's a speaker or somebody who comes in and they tend to come in, they talk for their 30 to 90 minutes and then they leave, right? They might hang out to sign a book or, do something and then that's it. But we actually spent the entire week with the people who were there to present and to speak and to lead. And it was so nice to get to deeply know people and to get to see people multifaceted, not just the person who's standing up or sitting in front of the room talking and sharing their experience or their message for you. And one of those people was Miss Sarah. So I'll let you chat a little bit about Sarah. And I know I have yet to download her meditations, but I will. And I know you actually were listening to hers today. So tell us a little bit about that.
I did not know Sarah going into this. And when I saw her, I thought, oh, she's like a little angel who's floating. And she had on, her linen romper. And I even said to her, I'm like, that's the cutest thing I've ever seen. I could never wear it, but it's adorable. And she's just so little. I ended up at the end, I said, I want to just take you home in my pocket. And, and I feel like I have. And she takes us on this journey, her voice, just alone, her voice. I just closed my eyes. Did you see that? It's calm, it's soothing, and the music in the back and the breath work, and she centers you, and it was something totally brand new for me. And you can find her on everything. I found her on Spotify. I listened to her on the plane. I was doing her old podcast. It's no longer new episodes, but it has meditations from her book. So you can do it there. You can go on the Insight Timer app, where I think she's like one of the top downloaded people, and she still has some live classes. I know she's got 2 Saturdays in July. I haven't stalked her at all, by the way.
No, not at all.
No. I don't know all of this information. I don't have her personal email address, maybe. But she gets inside of you. This morning, the meditation that I was listening to was about how we have this seed inside of us, and it allows us to be sensitive and to touch that part of ourselves and to be intimate, that we crush it down. We stop, looking inside. And I think that was the biggest thing throughout the week of listening to her, of, noticing what is inside that I haven't allowed outside. What is it that I've held back on or not acknowledged about myself? And hopefully I'm saying all of this right. You can tell me if you agree with it or not. If you're like, no, it's not what I got. Uh, but it was just this serenity and calmness that also became very emotional. And I think that's why I cried so much, was because it opened the floodgates of what is inside of me that I haven't let out, that's still there, even through therapy for years, and doing the hard work. There's still something inside that needs to be released. And I think that also creates that floating feeling as we go through life and we become more present. For me, coming home to my children who just wanted to sit on my lap. That's truly all they wanted, and to cuddle. And I sat there and I took that moment in versus, okay, let me check my email. Let me see what I got to do. Oh, I got to make breakfast. But just to be present and to be exactly where we are.
Yeah, I agree with all of that. And so Sarah was our speaker the first day of the retreat. And then every morning she kicked us off with a meditation and a little bit of breath work. And it was just such a nice, calming, grounding way to kick off each day. So it was nice to have her. She was the one who actually did things each day. So I felt like I got to build up my awareness of what she does. And I so enjoy her, and I can't wait to kind of dive in and check out all of her work and her meditations. But to me, one of my very favorite moments of the entire experience, one of the other people there was Azure Antoinette, and she is a riot and a half. But on our final morning of breakfast, we're sitting with Sarah and Azure is mimicking Sarah doing her meditation, and she's like, reach to the sky and push against the wall and hand up, hand down.
That's a song, right? It's a rap song.
Is it?
To the window, to the wall, to the sweat runs down. I'm going to stop right there because if you know it, you know it. It's a song she was singing, and that was her interpretive breathwork meditation impression of Sarah, which is why I was dying of laughter. It was so funny. I'm like, yes, keep going, keep going. That's my type of meditation.
Oh, it was probably one of my favorite moments of the entire experience, because where Sarah is very like this and very floaty and very like a 1 or a 2, Azure is very like an 8 or a 9. And so seeing her mimicking Sarah and doing what I didn't even realize was a song. Oh, it was just, we were having a blast. It was one of my favorite moments.
And then she mimicked Jess and how she comes and she eats her fruit. It's just, you have to, these people, they're so opposite of me. And I think that's why I love them so much, because there's such a flow in everything they do and this gracefulness, and that it's just not me. I don't walk in linen pants and float along, And some of these people do. And then to see Azure do an impression, and Azure's like 6 feet tall. and she's like, yeah, but I'm going to do an impression of you. And it's the funniest thing. And it's endearing because she does it because we all love these people. And she did too. Yeah, that was the best breakfast ever.
And that was, I think, what I loved so much about this experience that's so hard to communicate. Yes, we spent a week with Richard Branson and it was amazing, and he's amazing, and we'll talk about that. We spent a week with Gabby Bernstein and we got to hear her talk, and we'll talk about that. And there's all of these things that are great, right? And from the outside looking in, it's like, ooh, you got to hang out with Richard or Gabby, but it was these moments like this breakfast. To me, that was what made it so incredibly special and just so memorable, and something that you're never going to get by just hearing a keynote or listening to someone on a podcast. It was just that real lived experience and those shared moments that to me was what made the entire experience.
Absolutely. And we wouldn't have gotten to know these people the way we did had we seen them, talk at a conference and get up and do their 20 minutes. And with Azure, I'm sure I would have felt the same way that I did after she spoke for, her 30 minutes or whatever it was. But then to get to know her personally and to hug her, to say, let's have lunch next month. There was something different where even though I told certain people, like, you're my friend now, we're friends, sorry. We walked away as true friends with these individuals, more with some than others, but there was a true connection. And I think they felt the same way because they don't get to know the people that they speak to either on this level. And that's what's so special.
Yeah, it wasn't. Azure just so happens to be near my home this weekend doing one of her, I don't know what it is that she's doing. I think she's facilitating a session or doing a keynote or something. So I'm going to go out to see her, which I probably wouldn't have if I just heard her talk somewhere. But it's just, I feel like I really know these people on a different level now. And they're amazing people beyond just what they share in their message. They're just genuine, amazing people. And yeah, total highlight of the experience.
Yes. Oh, I loved it. And we got to have a beachside chat with Azure, to share our own experiences. And, she's DEI, she's diversity, she's worked with the Grammys. She has a song with, I don't even know his real name. It's Dr. Owen Hunt from Grey's Anatomy.
Owen, yeah.
Owen, yeah. It's Dr. Owen Hunt. They sing Chasing Cars together, and they're raising money for the Noir experience to, help people in need. And they're not even really publicizing it the way that I want to publicize it because they're doing good. But she's doing so many of these things. She was on Grey's Anatomy last season. She has MS, and she's just the most beautiful person inside and out. My takeaways from her, one of the big ones was, we all want to make an impact. We all want to help when it comes to Black Lives Matter, when it comes to diversity. We all want to make these big gestures. And what we ultimately need to do, she says, is start in our own world. Start at home, start with ourselves, and then it will have that ripple effect and impact will, be rippling. And it was so wonderful to hear that you don't have to make something big. You don't have to go and make these financial contributions. If you want to, yes, go do them by all means, but that's not what it's going to take. It takes us as individuals to be those people that we want to see and teach our children this, to be the example for our friends and our family, and to let it then continue to grow in that way. And that to me was so beautiful and profound to know that, my big thing of walking away was I am enough. I am enough. You are enough. What we are doing is enough because we are trying. And that is the biggest takeaway for me, of knowing that it starts with me and what I'm doing is exactly what I should be doing. I don't have to worry about doing more.
Yeah, I agree. Azure she has a way with words. No surprise that she does a lot around words, and the power of words and the importance of words. But she said so many things that really stuck with me. And I find myself reflecting back on her session and then the beautiful session that she had done afterwards, that smaller chat, over and over and over again. Her session is the one I just keep coming back to. And she has just a really, really nice way about her of saying the things that really need to be said, but in a way that I feel like people can really hear and can really take in and really take action on. And I appreciate her and who she is so much. And she is also the funniest human being I may have ever met. So
she is. She's a riot. I'm like, are you a comedian or a poet? Like, what is this? Which way are you going to go? Yeah, it's all intertwined and it all comes out like everything at once. It's beautiful. It's beautiful.
I love it. All right. So let's keep going with our speaker talk. So we talked about the lovely Miss Sarah. We talked about Azure, about Kim.
Wow.
Oh, Kim.
Oh, Kim.
Yes. I loved her.
She is the happiest person. So Kim is the napalm girl. She's the girl that you see in the famous photo of the Vietnam War, who is naked, screaming down the street because she has just been hit with napalm. And Kim is now, what, 60-ish?
Around there, yeah.
Around there. And she is the most happiest individual I think I've ever met in my life. The woman always has a smile on her face. The resiliency that she has is phenomenal. The forgiveness and openness in her heart is so admirable. I don't know that I myself would have what she has inside of her when it comes to forgiveness. I don't know other people have what she has or could have what she has. It's her story is incredible. To hear her journey and how she defected to Canada and kidnapped her husband. I loved it. I loved it. Her husband, Tonal, was there too. He was the only man besides Richard Branson and staff members who were male that were there. And he's very quiet and attentive, but then he gives you a zinger. Like, it was the best kidnapping I've ever had.
I spent a lot of time with him and with Kim throughout the week. I just so happened to be sitting with them a lot. We had gone on a cruise and I sat with them. And so I probably spent the most time with them throughout the week than I did with anybody other than Michelle. And it was so beautiful to see. It wasn't for show, right? It wasn't just standing up there saying, I forgive and I'm happy now. Like, Kim is genuinely the sweetest, most joyful person I've ever met. And her husband is incredible. And he shared with me so much of the story of what things were like and how he got together with Kim and how he used to have to carry water up 24 flights of stairs in a building without power. And there was literally one window per day where they could get water. And he would bring her water. And he shared so much of that story and the implications of them defecting to Canada and the risks that they took in doing that. It wasn't like, they're just going to take him and bring him back to Vietnam. It was like a life or death decision. There was so much that went into that. And I can't imagine being like, oh, hey, honey, by the way, we're not going back. We're going to escape now. And he's like, okay. And at first he wasn't okay with it, but he had all of about an hour to make that decision and ultimately decided to do that and make a decision that would ultimately change their entire lives. And it was just so fascinating to see their story, to see how in love they are, to see just how genuine, sweet, caring, joyful people that they are. And I enjoyed them so much.
And it was incredible to hear, so the reason that Vietnam wanted them to stay was because she became the quote unquote poster child for, war, and this is what happens. And so they wanted to keep her, and she wanted to go to school. She wanted to be a doctor. So they allowed her to go to Cuba because, Cuba, Vietnam, it's all a different kind of government than we have in the United States. And then for their honeymoon, they allowed them to honeymoon in Moscow. It's so unreal that this is truly what has been happening to her. And they're like, yeah, of course you can have freedom. You just go on over to Russia. No. And on their trip back home, they had to refuel in Newfoundland and got off the plane, and that was it. Said, see ya. And Canada accepted them, brought them in. It's amazing. I'm so grateful for Canada. And Sarah Blondin's from Canada too. So don't you know it's great? Yay, Canada.
I love it. Okay, so that takes us through 3 of our speakers, but there's more to come.
Okay, friends, not to leave you on a cliffhanger, but stay tuned to next week to hear more about what our experience was like and to hear about Gabby Bernstein and Sir Richard Branson. Until next week, take some time to be with yourself because that is the most important part of self-care.